Welcome to I Drink Your Podcast, where we drink and talk about movies from 2007.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!
I don't remember seeing this movie.
What's your power? You don't got the power.
Keeps away the narwhals.
The only way to defeat a waffle is by making it a pancake.
This is one doodle that can't be undid, Holmes Gillett.
Now back to that ass.
Were you masturbating?
I drink your podcast. I drink it up.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of I Drink Your Podcast. Today, we are watching The Lookout. So before we get started, just be sure to rate us 5 stars on iTunes or wherever you're listening to podcasts. Share us with a friend that likes movies or podcasts, and we appreciate all of your guys' support.
Or if you just like us, that's fine. You don't have to like our content.
Too. Yeah, don't even like us or the stuff we say. Just help the podcast out. I am Matt, and joining me this week, as always, is Ben, Wesley, and Emily, and our friend Brandon. Welcome, Brandon.
What's up? How's it going, y'all? What's up?
Hi, Brandon.
How you doing? Hey.
Welcome back, Emily, too.
Oh, yeah. I think it's really funny that during Psy, you didn't mention like once where I was.
I mean, afterwards, after we finished recording, I was like, shit, can we splice that in, Ben? And Ben's like, don't worry about it. I have to re-record an hour of shit.
I still didn't splice it in.
It's fine.
I hinted at it.
It's fine. I was in Colorado. I'm back now with all you crazy kids.
Yeah, well, welcome back, Emily. We sure missed you.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about what we're drinking. You guys, I'm drinking coffee. Ben, what are you drinking today?
I got a cranberry vodka.
Okay.
I almost went with that. Went with that.
Emily, what's in your glass?
I'm drinking a Firefly, inspiration of the first scene, which I really like. It is my own version of sweet tea vodka. I just put some tea in it and let it soak for a while, and then some raspberry lemonade. It's very nice.
Yum.
What's up?
Tragic drink, though, right?
Tragic,
don't drink
but it's delicious.
Don't drink and drive. Wesley, what's in your glass?
Rum and Coke. Nothing special. Getting the job done today.
Can you shoehorn it into the title at all?
Rum and cock my shotgun.
Okay.
So no, you can't.
I was hoping you were going to say, like, look out, I'm getting drunk.
Hilarious.
No, I use that for too many of my other jokes in this episode, so I can't ruin it right up top.
Perfect. Brandon, last, what are you drinking?
So what I got, I have a blue polar bear. It's vodka, blue Sriracha. I don't know how you say that.
Curacao?
Thank you. I don't drink. And Sprite. So since I say I'm a lightweight, so I'm gonna be real lit by about halfway through this.
Perfect.
So that you know.
Matt needs some competition.
I was gonna be super basic and just be like extra black and just be like Cavassier or something like that, or just something just like off the wall. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go and try and actually put some effort in. And now I'm super buzzed right now, so I'm ready to
starting off right. This. Good.
Yeah, my eyes are twitching and everything. Let's go ahead and go.
Nice.
Putting the drink in the I Drink Your Podcast.
Yeah, I'm coming back in the second half with some alcohol, but I just had to start it off with a little bit of coffee. Brandon, okay, so premise of the show is we're watching movies from 2007. What were you up to in 2007?
2007, I was playing a ton of basketball, so I was playing 3 nights a week someplace. I was also doing construction with my dad, who's got his own company in St. Louis. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, rather. Okay. I worked at a rec center. I was office cleaning, so I was doing a lot of working because I was trying to buy my own camera to go shoot like sports recruitment stuff and be able to do like the 40-hour film festival.
Nice.
So I was doing that. Yeah, I was just doing a lot of running around. I was like 205 pounds, and it was great. Like, I'm like 240, and I'm hurting over here.
Was that muscle at 205?
I was lean, man. I was like,
nice.
You don't have time to eat when you do that much stuff. So,
right.
Oh, that's my problem is I have too much time to eat. I got it.
I have too much time to eat now. That's what it is.
Brandon, what are some of your favorite movies from that time? Or it can even be now if you want.
I forgot how lit that year was for actual films. Like, it was a lot of good stuff.
Thank you for validating our idea.
It was, I mean, like when I was looking back and I was looking, Emily sent me the list and I was looking at the list and I was like, damn, Lars and the Real Girl. And then I was like, 30 Days of Nights on there too, I think, the vampire movie. And I was like, shit, this year actually slapped for films. So this was kind of when I was really getting into like a lot of those like independent films, like Lars and the Real Girl, like this film here. One of my favorite Westerns, 310 to Yuma, the remake is on here, which is really good. Probably my favorite musical, Sweeney Todd is on here now. But like stuff I've always loved and things that kind of really got me to love film was the movie Seven. I think Seven is where I kind of turned the corner and said, I really want to learn how to do this stuff. As far as older films goes, City Lights by Charlie Chaplin, it's going back and I'm watching parts of that. That's like a super heady film. I didn't realize how certain scenes kind of spoke to like socialism and classism and stuff like that. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. We when I was at MCTC, we were able to actually meet that cinematographer, and she broke down a lot of stuff that she did. And I've always liked that film. Hollywood Shuffle is probably one of my favorite films as well, just because I love the Wayans brothers, and I think that film is hilarious. And me and my brother still quote stuff from that to this day. Fight Club is a movie I see something different in Fight Club every time I see it. Anything Hitchcock, so like Shadow of a Doubt, which isn't a really, really well-known one. I like that whole concept. I mean, I could go on forever. Y'all probably want to stop me. Anything Roger Deakins, anything. Roger Deakins is like, every time I hear that this guy talk about something or see a film that he's done, it's basically a masterclass on how to light a scene. And then every other cinematographer always escapes me. Even the film that I think nobody really liked, but I really enjoyed it was Solo. I thought Solo was dope.
I loved it. We could talk about it, Brandon. I'm actually going to bring it up later. I'm so excited.
I thought Solo was dope from beginning to end. And I can't think of the cinematographer's name, but that's a black cinematographer for that. He also did A Dangerous Year. But he's done a ton of really good stuff too as well. TV shows, I can get into Atlanta all day long and the lighting and the directing in Atlanta.
Yeah. Atlanta's amazing.
I just looked it up. Bradford Young. Solo?
Bradford Young. Yeah, dude is sick. I forgot his name, and then I was doing an actual online film cinematography class with kids, and the interns was like, yo, Bradford Young. I'm like, who is this guy again? So I looked it up. I was like, oh, I've seen like 7 of the guy's movies.
Right. Yeah.
And I find myself following cinematographers, not directors. Mm-hmm. So even Gone Girl was actually shot. Part of Gone Girl was actually shot at Southeast Missouri State, where I went to college. It was way before I had already been gone. But just some of the stuff in there, the way that's lit. That same director and cinematographer also did. They also did The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Mm-hmm. His dad, that cinematographer's dad, did the very first Blade Runner. So like you see all this stuff come full circle. And I just love film, man. It's like next to basketball and construction is probably like, I know construction's way out there weird, but it's all. To me, it all is the same thing.
So I don't know if you're aware, but Emily has her own list that we've been curating of movies that she hasn't seen that we've referenced on this podcast. And I think you just dropped like 5 or 6 that I haven't seen that you spoke very highly of, that I'm like, all right, well, maybe I need to start my own list now.
I haven't seen more than 5 or 6. I haven't seen like any of them, including Fight Club. I've never seen Fight Club.
5 or 6 movies total.
Also, quick shout out to the Team Deakins podcast. If you like Roger Deakins, he does 2 episodes a week of his podcast where he invites on editors, cinematographers, producers, directors, and just talks about the behind the scenes stuff of movies. And it's really interesting and educational.
Yeah, that's probably one of the better podcasts I've heard. So
what years did you go to school, Brandon?
So I was in Southeast Missouri. Actually, I'm old. So I graduated from high school in 96. Bounced around in junior college. I was 4 years
old.
I know. See, I'm ancient, dude.
No, don't let Emily make you feel bad. Like, she does that to us weekly. You're fine.
Quite all right. That's quite all right. I did like junior college off and on until I figured out what I wanted to do. I was going to go into radio first, but then I ended up like, I really like television. Went to Southeast Missouri State. Was in Southeast Missouri State for 3 years.
What years?
Let me see. That's 2001 to 2003.
Okay. I'm just trying to picture the gear, because there's been quite the revolution in the last 20 years with like hot lights and like digital. And you probably, loaded film and did 16 millimeter, 35 millimeter.
So like this is, I really got to backtrack on that because this is going to be, this is the part that really kind of like messed everything up for like television and film for me rather. So when we learned on reel to reels. So we put in one tape, you put another one, you edit it up like that. Yep. So we didn't get to a lot of digital stuff till later. So we were digitizing and editing on Avid. So Avid is like, I don't think anybody even uses Avid anymore. So we were doing Avid. Once I got out of school, I couldn't afford the Avid stuff because Avid stuff was like $20,000. It was like some ridiculous amount. So I had a friend of mine, he helped me out. I got Sony Vegas. So I learned Sony Vegas. I called him every once in a while. So I learned Sony Vegas myself. Came here to Minneapolis. They were doing Final Cut. So I had to learn Final Cut. And then when I had to leave because I got married and a whole bunch of other stuff happened in between. So when I went back to go to finishing up my cinematography associates, they were on Adobe Premiere. So I had to relearn that. So I know like 4 editing systems. So anytime I put something in, I put in all this crap and they're like, yeah, we can't hire you because we don't know what you know how to do.
I thought it was so funny. Ben and Matt were both like nodding their heads as you're talking about stuff, and me and Wesley are just sitting here. I don't know about you, Wesley. I was just clueless. I'm like,
times.
I don't fucking know what you're talking
Anything
about.
Anything like photography related, I was kind of like, that's a word I've heard.
You're like, I know Adobe Lightroom. Did you use that at all?
You ever heard of Photoshop?
Hey, you know what? And here's the crusher. When I was teaching, I gotta stop drinking this. I'm getting lit. When I was teaching, I was like, I never used iMovie, so I had to learn iMovie. I'm like, this is it, and I'm like, okay, this is just like Final Cut, but like. I ask my wife sometimes, I'm like, hey, can you help me do stuff with like PowerPoint, like regular stuff? Because I never learned it because I was always doing editing software. So none of that stuff really kind of turns the corner and makes sense to me. I'm like, how come I can't just drag and drop this? And how come I can't just trim this off in? And she's like, it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
Brandon was a teacher at the school that Emily and I worked at. That's how we know Brandon and we're able to get him on the show. So Brandon, what did you teach when you were with us?
I taught video production and digital photography.
Fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. My class I was so laid back. I was like, yo, we're going to do this. I'm going to watch a movie.
Yep.
But I'm doing some stuff for a spot called Film North here. I do it over the summer where I kind of like a summer class and I take some kids and just go shoot some stuff. But I normally tell like my one rule is like, as long as it looks cool, it's fine. Like just go make some shit look cool.
I love that. I love it so much.
Like there's rules to film, but like the process for you getting there is going to be different for everybody. Yeah. So once you kind of figure it out, it's not very hard.
Right. Brandon, what about The Lookout made you excited to be on the podcast?
Two things. One's a really personal thing. I'll start with the technical thing first. I hadn't seen anything like it when it first came out, story wise. I thought there's a ton of foreshadowing in this film, which I think makes it really cool. I didn't realize it was directed by a writer till after I actually watched it the second time. And it's not just, a heist film. It's like, it's redemption. It's forgiveness. It's becoming something different. It's like, there's like so many different facets to this particular film that made it a really good film. And then it's not super long either, which I think I really like as well too. The personal reason is like at the time, probably around that year, maybe the following year, my mom had a couple major strokes. So when she was getting back to doing stuff, I would just reference like, yo, it's like The Lookout. You have to write it down. So when she started doing that and she's like, oh, okay, yeah, right. So then eventually got back to being able to read again and doing a whole bunch of other stuff and driving the car. It's like it's double layered for me in that respect.
That's really cool.
Nice.
Shit, I'm going to like cry on this episode.
So if you guys haven't listened to the show before, the first half of our podcast will be discussing and reviewing The Lookout, and the second half will feature our Battle of Twits, a creative competition between Ben and myself, with Brandon helping moderate. So let's talk about The Lookout, directed by Scott Frank, featuring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Matthew Good, Ilsa Fisher, and Jeff Daniels.
Isla.
Boo.
You said Ilsa.
Start at the end. Can't tell a story if you don't know where it's going.
Chris Pratt, played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, caused a tragic car crash where he was in high school and now lives every day with the mental trauma of the deaths and injuries of his friends and his own severe brain injury. He's no longer the popular hockey star, and he's living with his blind friend Lewis, played by Jeff Daniels, and working as a janitor at a local bank. An isolated Chris, estranged from his wealthy family, meets a high school acquaintance of his sister's, Gary, played by Matthew Good, and the two bond quickly with the help of Louvet Lemons.
Did you watch the movie?
Louvet?
Lovely.
Her name was Lovely.
Oh, right. That's right. Honestly, it feels like I didn't, but the only character's name I'm remembering right now is Chris Pratt, you know?
Okay, so now that we got through that clusterfuck, I wanted to talk about our debut director, Scott Frank, who was an amazing writer. I haven't seen like any of the stuff that he's written besides Godless, which was a limited series on Netflix. But I was doing some reading, and maybe Brandon, you want to speak more to this, but he has such an incredible gift. And I mean, obviously he's working hard too, but he is fascinated with identity in stories and really captures that in his stories. And it was just really cool reading about how he started off with planning this movie with Sam Mendes, and then that was in the 90s. And then in 99, he was working with David Finch, and they were thinking of Leo DiCaprio as playing Chris Pratt. But then from that point on, he just was like, you know what? I want to do this. This is my project. He wanted to push himself because he was getting too comfortable in his life and take a chance. And so I thought that was just really cool as someone who aspires to be a writer. Seeing someone move from writer to director was really interesting to me.
Right. I thought it was pretty dope too. I can't think of a lot of the films that he's done off the top of my head. I probably watched a billion of them considering everything, but like it's the one thing I've noticed is kind of being on a few sets is a lot of times writers are so attached to what they do that they don't want to make any adjustments. For him to sit down and be like, okay, I have to do and make adjustments. And the thing about this film that I really like is you can tell that there's stuff cut out of this that he was like, okay, it's not going to work for the story. Mm-hmm. And he wrote with like a lot of the stuff that that Gary and Lovely, like their scenes, like they may say 2 words the whole film to each other. So I kind of always wonder like what's taken out of there, and to have that like whole mindset to say, okay, this doesn't advance the film and get rid of it, especially as a director and a writer. I've seen like legit conversations off the side that never get resolved because of it.
It's awesome that you say that, because like I'm looking at his IMDb, and the thing that stands out to me is Minority Report, which is based on a short story. And what he did to make that work, what he included, what he added, it's just like you can tell this guy's like a fucking boss at everything he does. And it's like right. I'm so excited for like he's doing a miniseries called Queen's Gambit. It's like Wesley knows what I'm talking about. Seeing a little bit of chess, this guy knows what he's doing. So I think you're really on to something about what is included and what isn't.
Confused on why you brought Wesley into chess.
Queen's Gambit is a thing, and Matt and I played chess in high school.
Okay.
This is also the writer of Logan. So hearing Emily say she hasn't seen movies of his, I was surprised.
True. No, I've seen Logan. I forgot about that. Yeah, no, I totally forgot about Logan. I absolutely love the story of that, and it made me sob.
Right.
Being a writer-director, too, really allows you to make those decisions as you're filming, too, about what to keep and what to get rid of and what's really important. And you're not stepping on anyone's toes. Like when you have a separate director and writer, the writer is very connected to what they've written. They don't want a director coming in saying, like, I'm going to cut this part. I'm surprised we don't see more writer-directors in charge in Hollywood, because that relationship between director and writer is so important, and having it be the same person, it just makes things so much easier.
Yeah. And he's got 20 years of experience of writing before he did his first directorial debut here. So I think there's something to be said about, learning on the job and being like, I don't like what this guy did, and just being able to develop that over 20 years like that. I mean, like he's obviously really great at what he does.
So you guys have mentioned both that this story kind of got delayed a couple times, and also that this writer owning the property really had kind of final say in a lot of this. So what if it got delayed another 2 years when Chris Pratt was actually an actor? Do you guys think he would have changed the name of the main character, or do you think that he would have gone after Chris Pratt to play this character?
I mean, I do think watching it now, you watch it with a different ear because you hear the name Chris Pratt and you immediately associate that with the actor that we all, I hope, know, because he's a huge movie star now. I don't think this is a Chris Pratt role, and I don't think just because he had the name, he would have cast him.
Yeah.
But
No.
He changes the name to Tom Cruise.
What if he's just got great foresight and just predicts famous people coming through the pipeline that just haven't been discovered yet?
Yeah, Wesley, he's such a good writer that all of his characters have the names of the next up-and-coming actor.
That's a story. Let's get that movie made.
It is. That's definitely a story.
the thing I appreciate the most about the writing in this is the way that he chooses to represent people with disabilities. A lot of the times in movies, when you see a character who has a disability, it's almost the focus of their character, and it's the stories about how they have the disability. Like when you think about like What's Eating Gilbert Grape or The Ringer.
The two polar opposites.
Sure, but they're both movies that focus on people with disabilities. But the movies always in that way kind of build the story around how this person deals with their disability and how it's something for them to overcome.
Right. It's like Nemo.
Yeah. Yes, totally. And while this movie does have his disability be something he has to overcome, he's not defined by his disability.
Exactly.
He is someone with agency and skills and the ability to just kind of be his own character who just so happens to have this brain disability.
Right. It's that balance of character. And, you know, later the writer moves us into like a heist movie, but he doesn't care about the heist. It's all about the character rather than the heist. And it's all about Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character moving from this shift of this popular hockey star to figuring out who he is after that. Although I did have a question. Are there any movies where there are people with disabilities in the movies that are played by people with those disabilities?
The Ringer does have people with those disabilities play.
I've never seen it.
Some.
Yeah, not all of them.
Because like Jeff Daniels plays a blind guy, and as much as I love Jeff Daniels in this part, it was like, I guess I don't know very many blind actors and actresses out there. Wesley, you have some answers for me?
I have a close family friend who is blind, and so I watched this movie, especially Jeff Daniels, with a much more critical eye of how he was acting. And you know, I'm not here to say that my view of how blind people like physically emote, react, communicate with people is true, since I have a very limited scope. But like I found it so very different from everything I know about blind people, and it kind of took me out of it a little bit a couple times. So I don't know if you guys felt that at all, or if it, so I'm kind of curious, how did you guys buy his portrayal of a blind person? Did you think it was believable?
Man, I was looking more at his character. Charming, sweet talker, you know, especially when he's selling on the phone and he's sweet talking the waitresses. So I guess that's a good thing, but I was focused more on his character than his disability. But,
we don't need to go through all of my silly notes about like, hey, why I don't think a blind person would turn and do this, or the fact that he faced the person he was talking to before. Like there were a couple times when he had audio cues to know where to look to, but there were other times where I'm like, there's no way that a blind person would know to turn their body in this direction, or like, you know, have those physical reactions to interacting with another person.
Well, it could also depend on where and when in his life he became blind. Like if he's born blind, that's different from, you know, he's lived 30 years as a person with sight and now he doesn't see anymore. So
that's very true. Very true.
It was a meth lab incident, wasn't it?
Yep, meth lab. Meth lab.
I don't know why I'm laughing, but it was just like he lied about it like twice and could have lied about it again. I don't know.
Wait, did he actually say?
Yeah, he actually said it was a meth lab thing. He said it was like the fumes because they didn't open the vents or whatever, and he lost his sight from that. But I will say this. That brain trauma shit is on point. Like my mom used to just pop off. Like, this is bullshit. I'm like, Mom, we're in a crowded area. Like, what are you talking about? Like, she used to do it all the time. So that part, I was like, that's really believable. Like the whole tremors, the short-term memory stuff, all that stuff was 100% on point for that particular situation. But yeah, like the blind stuff, I guess I was so into the actual performance. I think he actually stole a lot of parts of the film that I didn't really like.
The writing for him was amazing.
Oh yeah. He basically killed it. I think I wrote in the notes like this. He's fucking killing it. That from the beginning to end, like he was the funniest thing, and he was a good change of pace throughout the film too.
Yeah, you're right. You know, he wasn't just like the comedic part, but he still added depth to the movie. But it was like adding to that relationship. You know, I don't know about you guys, but seeing someone 4 years out from their senior year, right? You know, this is 4 years later after their crash, thinking about that your only friend is an old blind guy and you're living with him and you have to have everything written for you. They had all the labels everywhere reminding him of everything. And it hit pretty close to home of like, wow, you went from this kind of life to this kind of life. It definitely makes you feel for the character right away and be invested in his character too.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, minus the fact that he made a big mess in the kitchen and presumably Jeff Daniels cleaned it all up.
What?
And in the Act 1, he gets mad because he can't boil the tomatoes.
He can't find the can opener.
Yeah, he smashes everything and makes a huge mess. And then the blind guy comes home and cleans it all up.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, I mean, the cut tells us that. Anyway.
Brandon, I remember hearing you mention that this movie had like the perfect runtime. What do you mean by that?
Well, it's normally you go 120 minutes for a script. I think so. You do. It normally ends up being like roughly a page a minute. So that's about how many pages you have. And I think that the pacing of this never felt like it was too slow. It never felt like it was going really fast, like it was trying to just explain stuff. I do like the fact that, and I'm a big fan of this part of like good writing, because you know how people say, "Oh, that's lazy writing. This is good writing." This was written good to the point to where not everything's explained. You just come to the fact that, okay, he's depressed. This is, you know, he has this whole thing where he's always going to, was it like Route 94 or no, right, Route 24, whatever?
Yeah.
24. So he's going there and he's reliving certain parts of it. He hasn't forgiven himself yet. So that's never said. It's just implied. And it's like, I think exposition in films, they do it way too much now because I think they need to explain everything all the time. Some shit doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah, it should be shown.
Listeners will know that that was one of my main criticisms of Hairspray, was the amount of exposition and kind of musicals that translate onto film instead of the stage. Like, that exposition isn't needed anymore. So that's one thing I absolutely hate. So I'm so happy you made that point. I also, when I started this movie, noticed the first thing I noticed was the runtime, and it was 90 minutes, and I got so excited. I was like, yeah, 90-minute film. Let's do this. I think that's the perfect amount of time for all the reasons you were just listing.
And even the passage of time, like, okay, we come in, you know for a fact Gary's been scouting this dude probably the whole fucking summer. You know it off tops. So then he has enough time to get a crew, even though I think Bone was like his cellmate. But his own crew. And then like he actually goes into the point to where like it's like almost Thanksgiving. And he's like, yo, this is the spot. You know, I've been watching this guy. We've been watching this guy for X amount of time. They don't say all of a sudden that like, okay, like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later, you just find out that it's Christmas. And it's probably a little bit after Christmas. Because like the bank owner says, yeah, after the holidays, we'll get you rolling on this particular program. So like, I love it when films don't say 2 months later, 3 months later, 4 months later.
Like a super.
Yeah, I hate that, especially when you can just show it and show, okay, now there's Christmas stuff up. And that's the whole reason that you have that director and that cinematographer that put together that shot. And you know, who else comes together to actually come up with that particular screening shot or whatever. You just this is what we're going to do this to explain this, not say it.
Yeah, it's incorporated into the story in some cases too, which makes it it makes you feel like you've actually done a little bit of work when you realize that, instead of someone saying 3 months later.
Yep.
On the night, your job will be the most important job of all. You're the lookout.
After a horrible Thanksgiving at his parents', Chris finds a family with lovely and Gary and their gang. Although he learns Gary is planning a robbing a local bank, specifically the one Chris works at, they ask him to help and be their lookout. Tensions arise between Chris and his friends Lewis and Ted, a local cop, and Lovely learns of Gary's scheme and leaves tearfully.
My most and least favorite things in a movie when you have that anticipation where you know that they're about to say the name of the movie. You've got the hardest job of all, the lookout.
And it wasn't even right away. It was like a couple beats, like they're letting everyone else fill in the blanks. Like, oh my God, it's coming.
Are you guys ready? Are you guys excited for this?
Yeah. Is he going to look at the camera and wink?
Oh my God. Oh my God. You know what I thought was really cheesy when he was like, yeah, I've been to jail. And he rips up his arm and shows his tattoo. I'm like, that's corny as fuck, man. They said you've been to jail. Like, we know you've been to jail. Your roommate is sitting right over there with the shades on, man. Like, come on, dude.
So this movie is very much told from the point of view of Chris. We are introduced to him through his monologues, interior, and then we see flashbacks of him and dream sequences involving him. However, there are parts of this movie that then don't go from his point of view and show us things that he doesn't see. And that actually really bothered me, the way that they would jump back and forth between what kind of perspective we were getting. And there's a scene that jumps to Gary like putting his arm around Lovely in the window as Chris walks away. That very much implied to me that Lovely was in on Gary's scheme and was there solely to get Chris involved. What do you guys think of that?
That's exactly what I thought. And I still don't know if I fully understand what it was, but like that scene came up and I was like, I must have missed something, even though I had watched some of this twice.
So I don't know if it's just because I thought that Lovely was a little bit more of a sympathetic character to me. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because it was like a small town and she had like this exotic dancer background and she didn't dance anymore. But I felt that, yes, she was in on the fact that, yes, they were going to rob this bank. She knew that. But because of her conversation with Lewis, I felt that she became more sympathetic as it went on. And she realized, this wasn't a great thing for her to be involved in. And when she saw the guns, she realized like this was way too far for her. And yes, she should have done something more than that. But to me, I don't think she realized the consequences of her actions until it was too late.
No, I definitely agree with that. But I think to say Lovely learns of Gary's scheme, maybe it's really like Lovely learns of the extent of Gary's scheme or how far they're willing to go.
Right.
But she was definitely in on the bank robbery, getting Chris involved, leading him into being the lookout.
Yeah, a seduction.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this about Lovely. I watched it like 3 times. Because I love film. I think in the beginning, like if you watch the scene where like Chris actually gets a little bit, he actually gets some. She has like a full nightgown on. Like it's a full nightgown. I'm like, wait, she was a stripper, right? So in my mind, I was like, okay, she's not trying to do this anymore. And so somehow or another, I think Gary kind of roped her into it, knowing that they're from a small town. Even if she was from there, I know she said that she was from there and she went to Kansas City, danced for a little bit. She said I wasn't good at it and came back. After that's got to be maybe a 6-7 week time span between Thanksgiving and Christmas, or like in between almost New Year's. So like when you're going over somebody's house to get it, it's different when they're coming to your house to get it. So like when she started going over there, I was like, yo, like she's really digging him for who he is. And she wants to actually turn the corner herself. That was her turn to actually make that redemption and be like, I don't want to be a part of that life anymore. I don't want to be that person. I don't like, the only reason why she was still going by Lovely was because that's what she was, I think, set up and comfortable to be in that particular point in time. When she leaves, it's like, okay, I have to get away from this because I can't be any more than this here, because he's going to find out that maybe I was setting it up. Or after she had that conversation with Lou, it kind of seemed like Lou was like, dude, there's no way you can be a part of this guy's world. Like you're nothing, nowhere near that. And I think she kind of realized that and she left, along with the fact that, they got, dirty, hairy guns in a bag in the back of a car. I think that was a part of it too. But again, whatever they cut out that wasn't said, because like I said, they have basically no dialogue the whole film. I think you come to that conclusion that she turned a corner at that particular point in her life to where she was like, okay, I'm done with this. I don't want to be a part of this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm historically not a promiscuous man. So this
it's not to say anything about the future, right?
I said historically. So I just want to know, like, so after the going over to his house to hook up, and then Lewis kind of coerces JGL into telling him all the dirty details. That was one thing I was actually curious. Like, have you guys ever actually done that? Like, right after you hook up with somebody, go and share that story with a friend?
Oh, heck yeah. 100% yes.
Really?
I'm actually a no on that one.
I'm a no.
As someone who has been promiscuous in her life, yes.
Historically. Can I ask you guys this? Have you guys ever gone to the refrigerator buck naked in front of your roommate and company and just like gave him a glance? Or have you ever felt that comfortable?
Winking? No.
Yeah.
I'm way too body self-conscious for that, so no, I would never do that at all.
Yeah. No.
Wild.
All right, those were some fun tangents.
Weird questions. Oh, no, I wanted to say before we move on from this whole lovely thing, I wrote in the plot summary that she had this family with Gary and his other recruits. And I think that's where her internal conflict stemmed from. And, you know, Brandon, you were talking about how she was kind of building this relationship with Chris as soon as she went over to his place. And she realized, you know, he's not just a means to an end. He's actually a real person with feelings and thoughts and shit. But I really identified with that conflict of having this family, but also not being able to like leave it and feel safe to be able to leave. Like, if same thing with Chris, he has these horrible parents that are super wealthy, but are not providing him with anything but just the bare necessities. And then Jeff Daniels' character, Lewis, is just like, hey, you should probably stop talking to your folks. And so I thought that actually paralleled how they found a family in each other and with Gary and the gang, and how like they really depended on each other in that short amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys think his father was a jerk at all? I was kind of like, he seems reasonable, being like, hey, so why do you need the money? You know what I mean? When he was asking him to ask for
3 a.m.
Yeah. I mean, I think maybe he's a jerk for being like, let's keep playing chess, you loser, you brain damaged son of mine. You know?
People don't get rich just by handing out money to anyone who asks. So, I mean, it was very within his character.
His son is you're labeling as anyone who asks. And I did air quotes there.
And he had a real business idea, right? He had a restaurant idea.
That's a perfect segue. Perfect segue. So let's talk about this restaurant idea. What I would like to hear how you guys would define this idea.
So they want to open a place that's only open for breakfast and lunch.
Lose Your Lunch.
It's called Lose Your Lunch. And it's in an old gas station that is not currently equipped to even be a restaurant.
And they don't want to do dinner so that their nights are free.
Right. They don't want to.
Hey, that seems perfectly reasonable to me.
Oh, yeah. And I think the blind guy is going to be the cook, and the guy who can't count is going to be your accountant.
A truly half-baked idea.
The whole menu is names of people that Lewis admires.
Yeah, there's no connection to anyone else.
What are these names?
Right.
When he's talking to that lone person, his name is Ruben, right? That was just fucking hilarious to me. Jeff Daniels is like, yeah, we'll name a sandwich after you. What's your name? And he's like, Ruben.
He's like,
so dumb.
Okay. What's your middle name?
Like that joke.
Excellent writing. Writing.
Whoever has the money has the power.
Initially, Chris is willing to help the gang with the robbery, but when the day arrives, he tells them he's changed his mind, but is forced to empty the vault at gunpoint. Ted comes by with donuts for Chris, notices the robbery, and open fire, killing 2 of the robbers, wounding Gary, but then he is killed by Bones. Chris escapes with the money and uses his sequence strategy in order to hatch a plan to save Lewis and himself from Gary and Bones.
There's a character in this that I really loved, and I almost wanted to turn off the movie when Ted died, because he's almost like a dog in this movie, just his loyalty to Chris. And it's like, John, I swear to God, if you kill the fucking dog, I'm going to turn this movie off. It was that type of reaction from me. Like, I was so mad, and I was shouting at the screen. His wife was pregnant. His wife goes into labor the second he gets shot, which I didn't like, but fine.
I hated the beeper going off 1 second
and
before.
Then when he was driving away from the bank and and they do that shot of him outside the donut shop, I'm like, he don't want donuts. Don't get him donuts.
He specifically told you that he can get them himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like shouting at the screen. I was so mad and invested. Have you guys ever been so invested in a side character of a movie that like the movie basically ends when their story ends?
Oh, so this is when I was going to talk about Solo, because I saw that you wrote something about that. L3. I was like, no.
Yeah,
why?
I was the same way.
Sorry, spoilers, but like, shit, I really liked the movie just generally, but once it hit L3 dying and becoming part of the ship or whatever, I was like, I'm done. I was thinking about like other side characters that you get really invested in, like Neverending Story, the horse.
Yep.
Just like, let's just break our hearts.
I don't like this conversation.
Yeah. What about Mufasa?
Yeah. Little Women. Guys.
You mean when Beth died?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like these side characters that pull at your heartstrings and then they just die and leave you heartbroken.
Mm-hmm. I honestly can't think of any off the top of my head.
I can't think of any either.
It's because you blacked it out, guys.
That's what I was just going to say too. Is like it's probably because I don't want to remember that.
Well, like this was right here when I started, so now I'm down to I don't give a fuck state.
It's okay, my drink is gone. Far.
Oh wait, My Girl.
Yes, Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
Ted dying was heartbreaking. It was
agreed.
Just when he does go back to the donut shop, he's like, you know what? I do love Chris Pratt, and like it was just heartbreaking. So
he had zero negative traits.
And you know why he went back? It's because Joseph Gordon-Levitt apologized to him.
Mm-hmm.
That was the reason. And when he is talking and Gary has him at gunpoint and he's like, no, it's fine and everything. And then he steps out and he apologizes to him. He's like, yeah, I'm sorry. Things are not going so great. I'm like, no, now he's going to come back because he cares about you.
Yeah.
Well, so when I was watching that, I didn't think that was a setup for him leaving and coming back. I thought that was JGL reaching out for help, and like the situation you've seen sometimes in entertainment of like somebody's got a gun to their back and like trying to like wink or say something out of character, like what's going on here. So I thought he was trying to get Ted to stay right then, not necessarily that he was trying to be a good person.
But he is such a good person though. Like his response when JGL apologized was like, don't even worry about it, man. Like, I know what you're dealing with and that sometimes you just say things you don't mean. And it's like, oh my God, dude, like, I love you. Come be my best friend.
Yeah. JGL should have just, he should have doubled down and did the old yeller, go on, get.
I don't need you to get me donuts.
Hey, but straight up, Ted went out like a G though. He popped every last. I was like, damn. Dude, they be getting down in small town USA. Dude. He had nothing to do with it, but eat donuts, get his wife pregnant, and go to the gun range. That was it.
Even
he
his
was popping cats.
Investigation to like go to a different angle and happen to notice somebody in the background like that. I thought that was pretty clever of someone who wasn't set up to be like an intelligent, like super smart or the best cop ever. Like he was kind of set up as the oafish character. So I thought he did a really good job with like actually investigating something's wrong.
I'm worried Matt doesn't know how Old Yeller ends because he doesn't try to shoo the dog away. That's not how that movie ends.
Wait, what am I? I'm thinking of Harry and the Hendersons.
Yes, you are.
Which is parroting a different movie.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, Matt. Hey, I want to talk about just heist movies in general because this was kind of a heist film. Or at least it tried to be. I mean, the director and writer, Scott Frank, definitely was not caring about the heist part of it. But at least Gary cared about the heist.
Well, it's definitely a heist movie. And you can say that the director doesn't care that it's a heist. But what makes this movie different from other heist movies is that in most heist movies, we see the whole team and we're on the same side as the entire team trying to do the heist. Whereas this one, we're only on the side of one character within the heist and the rest of them are bad guys. And it's an interesting dynamic to try to watch play out in this heist because you want Chris to get away with it, but you also want the bad guys to get their comeuppance. When you think of a normal heist movie like Ocean's 11, like you're all about those guys fulfilling what they're setting out to do. And in this one, you're kind of torn between whether you want them to succeed or not.
Right. And that's a perfect segue into what I wanted to mention about this. So I recently listened to a podcast called Sky Talkers. They're all about Star Wars because huge nerd over here. And they talked about if Solo is a heist film. And they mention Charles Kunken, who goes through this anatomy of a heist. And he has these 16 conventions to make it a heist film. And so he talks about things like how there's a single score, the perpetrator is the hero already wants to steal, the heist is a success, there's a twist ending, they have the recruitment and everything, and everyone has different skills. But because this was more focused on the drama of the characters, I didn't think of it as a heist even. I thought of it as a plot point rather than, I guess, a character development of Chris rather than an actual heist.
Yeah, so going into this movie, I've never seen it before. And I had no idea what it was about until the day before I watched it. I think, Emily, you had mentioned something about bank robbery. So had I not known that, like the first entire half of this movie, nothing about what happens leads you to think that this is going to end in a bank robbery. So I think you're kind of right on there that this doesn't feel like a heist movie at all. It feels like a heist subplot for a character development's rounding of their arc. Yeah. Heist adjacent. Right. I love that.
Right. And you don't get that fun montage where it's like you get the trendy music as they're like going over the plan.
I was going to say that same thing. But like, it's, I don't know if anybody's ever seen, cause it's kind of an older movie, Dead Presidents. Like Dead Presidents is technically on the back end of it. It's a heist film, but it doesn't feel like that. Cause like it's a legit, like Emily was saying. And so it's the same thing with Wes. It's such heavy in character development of that particular character and their journey and how they kind of get to the point to where they're at. Even though Dead Presidents ends kind of bad, this one doesn't necessarily have that particular ending, because it's like he pretty much goes through that whole like regret, redemption, triumph, that whole thing that he goes through to realize that his life, his new life kind of started when he went to the bank and he gave the bank guy the card. That's when then he gets to the point where the guy says, "Yo, we're gonna look into getting you into that whole program next week." And then I think right then and there, when he sees where he's come from, when you have that first clip in like the first act when he's looking at the wheelchair. You know what I'm saying? Like I still have crutches here from all the times. I get messed up, but like you still got the wheelchair there. So like you see you came from this all the way to this, and now you're going from one spot to the next. You're not going to be the same. I think that's when he realized, and he kind of started to almost come full circle until he gets down the road. He gets to the police officer and stuff. But even still, like this film, like everybody's saying, never felt like a heist film to me. It always feels like where Chris's journey is becoming and how it's starting to pop off to where he's becoming something that he didn't think he could even be possibly do anymore.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely.
All right. So here's a couple quick gripes.
These are just a few of our incredible thoughts.
I really miss the long sleeve shirt under a t-shirt days.
You miss what?
Wearing a long sleeve t-shirt under a short sleeve t-shirt like Sheldon does in Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. JGL
was
rocked
that really
it a couple
thing?
times. Oh yeah. Hard. Opening cans is hard.
It can be.
So true.
Some real gems this week, Leslie. Keep going.
The Lookout has a blind man ... awaiting payoff. It didn't come. This dude shamed somebody for tipping too much. JGO wanted to pay $20 for a $2.50 beer, and the guy stepped in to say no. Don't hang out with him. When salespeople tell you excellent choice, they aren't necessarily lying, but there is zero reason to believe them. Calling to ask for money at 3 a.m. is a guaranteed way to have your parents think that you're fucked up. If I was the car guy, I'd definitely drive off once the money was in the car. Don't hire me to be in your bank robbery crew.
I won't.
Okay, here's my dad joke.
I'm so excited.
Dad joke. The second he came on screen, my thought was, I'm guessing Jeff Daniels isn't the Lookout.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
But that also lends itself into the best dad joke that was in this movie.
Yes.
Which is Jeff Daniels saying, what do you call a mushroom that walks into a bar and buys everyone a drink? a fun guy.
I know, right?
It's like, yeah.
I heard that. I was like, oh, that's Ben's dad joke.
I kind of hope
week.
that you would just use that for your dad joke this week, but I think yours was better.
All right, this week I got a rant about some hockey hair.
Well, I have a microphone and you don't.
So you will listen to every damn word I have to say!
So I'm from Duluth, Minnesota, where hockey hair is a thing. Hockey is very important. I like watching hockey, but I thought the hockey hair was stupid. All these mullets, all this flow, like why? It was usually greasy and smelly and awful. But I learned that my senior year, 2011, that's when they started all those stupid all hockey hair team videos. And so I don't know if Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, Chris Pratt, was like, hey, I'm just going to have hockey hair for this whole time, even though I'm not a hockey player anymore. But it fucking bothered me. It fucking bothered me that he has this stupid hockey hair, and it's apparently definition of hockey hair is luscious lettuce flowing back. It looks like a fan is always blowing on you. And it started to keep your necks warm in the 1960s during hockey. But apparently they get this respect on the ice with the long flowing mullets, especially with mullet curls. And I hated it. It distracted me from his acting, even though his acting was fantastic. Wesley, you even texted us and said that you didn't even think it was a good movie because of the hockey hair. So fuck hockey hair. I hate it. Ruined the movie for me.
Oh, man. It's harsh.
Brandon, what did you think of the movie?
Well, I think the movie, in honor of Ted, Deputy Donut, who probably held on to 2 donuts for his wife to give to her after every...
That really hurt.
After every single night he was out, I give it an 8 donuts out of 10 that was left over.
Very nice.
No,
Nice.
I totally agree. I really like this movie, except for
Rest
the
in
freeze
peace,
frame
Ted.
at the end.
The freeze frame was...
freeze frame. Oh my
freeze
God.
frames.
I did not like the ending.
I think I had that in my notes. I hate freeze frames, man.
He was looking right at the camera too. Like it wasn't just a freeze frame. It was him staring into the camera, staring into my soul, being like, "Did you see what just happened to me?"
Yeah. Levels of Prisoner of Azkaban.
Oh, man.
I actually tried to watch this after one of you finished it, and whoever watched it before me stopped on that freeze frame. So the first thing I saw was JGL looking into camera and fade to black, and I was like, well, that must have been the end. I guess he lives.
Oh, man.
Look out!
It's time to play Battle of the Donut Cops. I will stage 3 robberies of questions to our less than criminals. Let them try to convict me who is the schemiest this week, after which I will shoot my duffel bag gun at the loser. The winner of each robbery will get 1 bank vault. Second place will get 0 bank vaults. I will be more easily persecuted by the amount of times you leave your keys in the car's ignition and trapping answers. After the Richie Rich emerges from the vault, the loser will have to design and make a sandwich named after the winner because the winner has earned the admiration of the loser.
The loser.
Oh, very nice. That's what's written.
I hope to persecute Wesley more than Ben.
What the hell was that?
That was a real trip, Wesley.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Battle of Twits intro.
I told you guys it was going to be a doozy. So Donut Cops, are you rowdy?
Rowdy.
Oh yeah.
Brandon, are you ready to guest moderate with us?
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna try.
Now, Brandon, I know that you have listened, so I trust that my Jackson Pollock attempt at covering up my normal Twits intro still made sense. Like you understand how this all works.
I got it.
Then let's get into this. So question 1. So the restaurant pitch in this movie was terrible, but I think that we can do better. So your opponent is going to provide you with the theme of a restaurant, and you will have to pitch the idea to a Bank of Wesley employee and convince that employee to give you a loan. So it's going to be a little different this week. Ben's going to go first, which means that Matt, what is the theme?
Okay. So the theme of Ben's restaurant will be that you eat trendy teenager clothes, and the name of the restaurant is called The Gap.
Okay, and now, Ben, you have 60 seconds while I ask Brandon to talk about the movie that he saw last. So, Brandon, go right ahead. What's the last movie you saw?
Last movie I saw was, Project Power. It was actually not that bad. And to come full circle, Gordon's in that one as well. He even tells a girl, I need you to be the lookout.
Oh.
In a part of the film. I know, full circle. My wife picked up on that.
Very nice.
So yeah, it was cool. Machine Gun Kelly's in it. You know, he's okay.
Yeah, we had talked about this before that I had just started watching it too, and like that was the only thing that I took away from the 5 minutes that I saw. Was like, oh, Machine Gun Kelly's in this. Cool.
Is it any good?
The special effects are dope. I'll say that. The story's cool. I wish they would have kind of spent a little bit more time on the back end of that story to kind of make it kind of amp it up. But I mean, it was classic cop person setup ish. Somebody does something superhero kind of filmish. It wasn't bad though. I mean, it wasn't bad. I'll say this about Netflix films. Some of them I would not go to see at the movies.
That's interesting.
This one I wouldn't see this one at the movies either, but it was pretty good.
Nice. All right. That's a minute. Ben, let's hear it. Let's get Emily to sign off on your bill.
So the thing with restaurants nowadays is that you have to be trendy. You have to be chic. You have to be with the times. Well, we all want to feel young again. And the easiest way to do that is by eating teenager clothes. Now, I know what you're thinking. How is that even going to work? Well, first off, there's going to be no leather because this restaurant is vegan. Vegans love eating things that they're allowed to eat. That is one of the hallmarks of vegans is that
oh my God,
they love their own food. Well, they won't even know the difference between the clothes that they eat and the normal food that they eat. They're going to love my restaurant, The Gap. People are going to flock to it. You know, all vegans lined around the corner to eat the latest, shoes that are trendy, and what are some other trendy teenage clothes? Like you got those Tommy Hilfiger shirts and those the Lee dungarees.
Don't you work with teenagers?
Can you please give me please give me your food specialty? What is the specialty that I would enjoy at your restaurant?
I mean, this evening it's a lacy number. It's really going to go down. It's going to go down easy. It's kind of like a banana strap tank top.
How are you going to do a lacy banana strap?
The straps aren't lacy. The rest of it's lacy. I don't know. Either you get it or you don't. And
all right, that's perfect. I want to end there. That's a lot to process. So let's see how the turntables. And Matt, you're up next. Ben, what is the theme?
Your theme is penises.
Oh my.
Okay, so now. Okay, Matt, you have 60 seconds while we talk to Emily about what movie she saw last. So, Emily, what did you watch last?
All right, so with my husband, we've been watching a lot of like 90s, 80s action movies, and I've never seen a John Woo movie before. So we started with John Woo's original US debut, Hard Target, and Jean-Claude Van Damme is in it. He plays a homeless guy, and he's super trained in martial arts. And it's super fucking awesome. I love it. It's so great. I will definitely be watching this more and more. And it's just ridiculous the way he just uses his legs all the time to fight people. He doesn't even use his arms. He's just like swinging his legs around. It's great. I love it. 100% recommend.
So you're going to watch Hard Target over and over again, or you're going to check out some other John Woo movies?
I'll see other John Woo for sure. Okay. But this movie is a classic in Emily's repertoire now.
I don't know.
He was rocking a mullet, wasn't he? Wasn't he rocking a mullet in that one?
Yeah, it's good. Yep, it's really good.
And
his
when
accent is fantastic. 93. Are we ready?
All right. So, Matt, I want you to pitch to the Bank of Wesley your restaurant about that serves penises or is penis themed. Let's hear this.
I have one word for you guys. Hog. not pork, hog. Our restaurant will be exclusively penises. I know what you're thinking. Goat penises, ox penises, sheep penises. We're going to have all of them, and this is a delicacy enjoyed around the world. And my restaurant, Pene, with a little accent above the E, P-E-N-I, will be similar to a Chipotle, where you just go down the line and you select your meat.
Oh my God.
And then that goes into, we have a couple different things. We have a pita pocket. We have tacos. And I think a lot of restaurants underestimate the sauce, and we're gonna have a couple different sauces.
Oh no,
we're gonna have a hot sauce. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, and you're correct. There will be a cum sauce.
Oh my God.
But yeah, that's like more of a delicacy. You really have to be a pene head in order to enjoy that. And all of our employees are gonna have mushroom shaped hats. And it's just going to be a really great dine and dash restaurant that's going to be successful throughout the world. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, I've got a couple.
So you come and go.
All right, so I got a question for both of you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you're both very high-class restaurants, and you both staff a sommelier. I want you to give me the meal that you're going to pair with a Cabernet Sauvignon Blanc.
So I would have a donkey penis deep fried, and then that would be chopped up and put in a sushi roll.
Wow.
Chef's kiss.
So it's penis tempura.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Japanese breadcrumbs for sure.
Oh man,
Ben.
I mean, mine's going to be paired with, because red is like full bodied, so you want to pair it with something like heavier. So I'm thinking like a nice wool sweater.
Question 2 is going to be a draft, and you are going to be drafting a new bank robbery team compiled of characters from other movies. So we have 5 rounds. We're going to draft the planner / brains, the tech / demolitions, the muscle, the lookout, and the getaway driver. And we're going to start with Ben. You get the first pick of planner / brains.
Yeah, so the brains of the operation needs to be smart, needs to be able to see all sides of things, and just really be able to figure out what other people are going to do and how they're going to react. So I picked John Doe from 7 because he was able to plan all of the crimes in 7 on his own, and the only reason he was caught was because it was part of his plan. He was able to see everything before it even happened and plan accordingly.
Matt?
So I selected a similar character. They need to be smart. They need to be a genius, a literal genius. So I went the route of selecting Stewie Griffin, the young prodigy with the big brain who can put together a plan.
Tech demolitions. Matt, who are you picking?
I went the route of selecting somebody that knows his demolitions. If you guys know anything about, well, I mean, more the demolitions route than the tech route.
Okay,
is what I was getting at.
But still.
So I went the route of a man who knows all about demo, a man who puts himself in his own movies often. As a cameo, I selected Mr. Michael Bay, often uncredited in films, who knows a thing or two about it, some boom booms.
I was wondering when he was coming back.
Okay.
But like a Michael Bay cameo, like character?
Well, I mean,
Michael
I guess
Bay.
Specifically the guy from Armageddon.
Got it.
But you know that guy knows how to explode some shit.
Okay.
Got it. No, that helps.
The demolitions expert is the wild card. He's there to get you in, and that's it. So I wanted someone who has already taken the time to learn how to use explosives, and that's Wile E. Coyote. He's taken the time to learn from his experiences, and failures are the easiest way to learn what not to do. Plus, even if he does screw up, he only ever hurts himself. So everyone else is safe and will survive.
Next, we're going to have you draft the muscle of the group. And Ben? we're going to start with you.
Yeah, my muscle, I needed to be proficient in weapons and able to survive being shot many times just in case. So I picked Beatrix Kiddo from Kill Bill. So even though she's driven by revenge, she was very methodical in her approach about seeking that revenge. So she's not just going to, go off the rails and start shooting and killing people. Like, she's going to do what she needs to do to make sure the job is successful.
Matt, who's your muscle?
My muscle is a little more literal towards the word muscle. I didn't want to select somebody who's proficient with guns and violence. I needed to select somebody who would be intimidating and would be able to use that factor in order to make the crew successful. So I chose Sloth from the Goonies. One look at him and you're terrified. And not only that, the dude's built like a fucking truck.
Built like a fucking truck.
Yep, got to get every one of those words in there. All right. 4th out of 5, we are to our namesake, the Lookout. Matt, who's going to be your lookout?
All right. So the most important thing about this person or character is that they need to have excellent eyesight and they need to be ever vigilant. So my character that I chose was the Eye of Sauron.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, my goodness.
An excellent lookout choice.
That's a pretty good lookout. Ben, who's your lookout?
Okay, so the lookout needs to be a good interceptor of people and be very personable, and also probably disabled just in case they get caught, because, then he can get away with it. So I picked Forrest Gump because not only would he get off scot-free and be able to just talk the person's ear off if he's trying to intercept, but he's capable of outrunning the cops.
Last pick. Everybody's got to have that getaway driver. So, Ben, who's behind the wheel?
I need someone who's got a car that's capable of getting us to safety and be evasive. I picked Doc Brown. He's going to be able to outfit the van as a time machine and evade the cops in time. Imagine loading up the van and hitting 88 in your van, and all of a sudden you're back in time, and the cops don't even know where you are. You're gone. You're a flash.
The bank robbery didn't even happen yet.
Yeah, that's slick. That's slick.
Right, yeah,
that's slick. I like that.
That's a good answer. All right, Matt.
He was one of my choices for lookout. I went a different route. I didn't want somebody that's an excellent car driver. I want to be able to evade the police, and I think the best way to do that is by plane. So I chose Captain Sully, Chesley Sullenberg, as my getaway driver. What better way to run from the police at over 800 miles an hour in the air?
In a commercial jet.
Right. It's in a 747, baby.
He turned it into Con Air. He made it Con Air real quick.
Never mind the 15 minutes to get up to altitude and speed and everything. But
Captain Sully, probably 14 minutes at least.
Is he a movie character?
Yeah, there's a movie about him.
There's a movie called Sully.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Hanks as Captain Sully.
Oh my God. I don't need to see that.
Our third and final question this week is going to be our classic create a reboot, prequel, sequel for The Lookout. But this week, I want you to include a medical condition that supports the plot of the movie. And Matt, we're going to start with you.
All right. So I chose a reboot. Okay. So the drama of asking his dad for more money and robbing a bank doesn't really work for me, as well as the smaller details like his relationship to his blind roommate and how dating life works post-accident are more important. So for me, Joseph Gordon-Levitt was a little too functional. So in my reboot, he's going to have a much stronger brain injury that makes it significantly harder for him not only to sequence, but to have regular interactions with people. His brain growth and mind will have been stunted to the 11th grade, and he can't process new information at all. Well, or so we think. I'm going to throw out the entire bank heist plot of the film, and this movie could be perfectly a good drama about a redemption arc of a man who must learn to put the pieces of his life back together in his life and finally learn how to become a proper bank teller. That's the journey of my movie, with many lessons and relationship developments from Jeff Daniels, his father figure, and his therapist, who is lost in this movie. There will also be a forbidden love story that develops between Lovely, when she falls in love with him at first glance, and his high school charm, in crass, but soon learns about his disability. His therapist would disapprove at first until she learned more about Lovely. The climax of the film would be how he finally resolves his relationship with his father and becomes independent. My movie would be called Look Out, World. the log line would be "Here I come."
So this is a reboot.
Yes.
Except that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character has more of a brain disability.
Yeah, it's a much stronger brain injury. I didn't want to put a title on it because I don't know. Medical. I don't get it, but you would have a
medical. That's good enough for me.
That's a term that LaShonda Rhimes uses when she's writing for Grey's Anatomy. They like figure it out later, you know?
So that's very Grey's Anatomy. So it's not a heist anymore. It's a love story, or what?
Yeah, I mean, it's more of like his relationships with his father, and the love story. But no heist anymore, and it would all be about him like learning how to become a bank teller.
Sign me up to not watch that movie.
All right, well, fuck me.
Spoilers. I wasn't real thrilled with that one. We'll get back to it. I'm just teasing. All right, Ben.
So we learned from the lookout that Lewis is a blind man. But with him having told multiple stories of how it happened, we can't truly say we learned how he was blinded. Well, in my prequel, we will finally learn what happened. The entirety of my movie will follow Lewis on the day that he was blinded. The movie would be very similar to Baby's Day Out, as Lewis meanders through his normal day, where opportunities for being blinded are always being narrowly avoided by him, sometimes through random luck, and sometimes through the intervention of the people around him. Lewis's deaf best friend and roommate named Joseph Gordon-Levitt, played by Chris Pratt, is along with him on his errands, and always seems to sense when Lewis may be in danger. Lewis dodges blinding opportunity after blinding opportunity as he walks past barrels of acid that are not properly closed, takes a class on smelting, and misses taking a coin to the eye while staring up at the tallest building in Kansas City. However, he eventually does go blind when Joseph, the man trying to protect him the whole movie, maces him in the face, believing Lewis to be an intruder. The title of my movie is Luke Out.
Oh, my goodness.
Where do I even want to start? This was so good. So question 1, we had our opponents offer up a theme of a restaurant that they had to pitch to a bank teller to get a loan, and then they were given 60 seconds to write their answer on the spot, in the moment. Very hilarious. Matt provided Ben with the theme of eating trendy teenage clothing, and the restaurant is called The Gap. And I think, Matt, you did not make that easy for Ben. Like that was very,
really hard.
Very difficult. I don't know what I would have done. I think, Ben, you did a great job with what you got. What I wanted more of was why was it called The Gap? I don't think you really hinted at it very much.
I did like the vegan part, though. That was hilarious.
Yeah. Very good. Again, very difficult premise. Ben's pitch for Matt was penises. Matt's starting off with hogs and doing all animal pene, and the restaurant called Pene was just very hilarious. I think, Ben, unfortunately, you gave Matt the advantage of an actual food, and Matt just kind of threw you under the bus. Like that's a mountain that was a little too hard to climb. So I gave that one to Matt. Mm-hmm. Question 2 was to draft an entirely new team of 5 for the bank robbery. Real quick, Ben, you won 4 of the 5 for this one. The 2 standouts, Ben, Doc Brown is just, I don't think you could possibly do a better getaway driver, but also I thought that Matt's Eye of Sauron was incredibly good. I don't know how well that fits into the everyday movie character kind of.
Including Wile E. Coyote, too.
Yeah.
But whatever, we don't care.
The other things that really pushed me over was Ben saying that the tech demolitions needed to be a wild card, Wile E. Coyote having the safety of the team be secure because he only ever injures himself, and then following that up with the muscle needing to be methodical and about revenge. That kind of balances out that wild card. I thought that really worked really good as a whole team. So,
and thanks for including a woman.
That as well. Having Beatrix Kiddo was a great choice for the muscle.
And a coyote.
Well, you
I'm all
didn't
about
include
representation.
one singular fiery eyeball. So.
Yeah, I was going to say that did include a tower. So
right.
And a disabled person. He had sloth in there.
Right.
And you had Forrest Gump.
Yep, we're all about representation here on
Oh
I
my
Drink Your
God.
Podcast.
I'm leaving. I'm
Too
leaving.
much to drink.
it was a good list.
Brandon, are you happy you joined us?
Oh yeah. You know, we pretty much claim Wile E. Coyote as a brother anyway, so it's cool. It's cool.
The final question, reboot prequel sequel for The Lookout, where a medical condition plays support to the plot. Matt, your story seemed almost more like an edit of this movie as opposed to a reboot. I liked where you went with it, but it just I just watched this movie, so if it was a little different,
Sure.
I did like medical though. That made me laugh. Ben, this is another thing I mentioned earlier where I both love and hate something about like a movie trope, and the idea knowing that like this story has to end with him getting blinded, but the entire time we don't know when it's going to happen. Like obviously the first 10 things you see aren't going to do it, because then why would this movie be an hour and a half long? But I also just I still want to see that, and I thought that was a really really clever way of teasing that out. So question 3 is also going to Benjamin for a 2-1 win this week. So Matt, that means that you have to design and make, and hopefully it's tasty. Consume, maybe serve it to Shelby, but yeah, you need to design and create a sandwich based on Ben.
I encourage you to use pita bread, cum sauce, and penis. Like
White sauce. I'm sorry. I might have said cum sauce earlier, but it's red sauce and white sauce.
Oh.
Brandon, any highlights from the Battle of Twits that you were loving?
Man, dude, it's when he said you choose your own meat, man. I'm sorry, I was still done off of that, dude. When he said it's what do you say? It's like what style is it? Chipotle. You choose your own meat, man. I was done, dude.
Choose your own penne.
I almost walked away. No bullshit. I almost walked away because I was gonna laugh so loud. Oh my God.
Aren't you so glad you joined us today,
dude? This is great. I love this. Yeah. Thank you so much for having. No, seriously, thank you so much for having me. I think when Emily first said you'll be having a podcast, I'm like, dude, whatever I have to do to get on, I will miss work. I don't care. Like, I just want to get on, and this is so much fun. I had a blast, man. This is great.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
and with all your film expertise, we really appreciate it, and having all the insight that you brought to our show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's so much. Yeah, there's so much you don't get into. You don't get a chance. Like the whole cinematography was amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that the actual the bank is actually like a museum that they kind of retrofitted to put stuff in there. They had problems with like the whole like glass and stuff like that, and shooting around crew. Like all that stuff is just stuff that's just like you don't get a chance to get to, but. I mean, it's just so much fun talking about film, on a random Sunday. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I think we'll definitely have to have you back, and hopefully we can translate some of those cinematography ideas and appreciations into the next 2007 movie.
Cool, no doubt, man. I'd definitely do it. I'd definitely do it.
Brandon, can I ask you this? Would you ever be interested in coming back as a Twits challenger?
I'm too lit now, man. I got
I mean, you don't have to be as drunk next time.
I can't. I don't know, man. You guys are a little bit more seasoned and on point on that.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
Dude, I'm like the second drink in, and I don't know how I'm going to walk to the bathroom right now. So I'm going to leave it.
Well, we wish you the best on that.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you again, Brandon, one more time for coming on. It was so much fun having you on, and I know I speak for everybody when I say we can't wait to have you back.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thank you. This is great.
Listeners, thank you so much for listening to this episode. You know, if you're still listening, be sure to rate us and share us. And we appreciate your support. And thank you so much.
Next week, we are doing Mr. Megorium's Wonder Emporium. And we're having on Connor from No Highway Option podcast. So we're excited to have him on and look forward to next week.
And Matt was just on their podcast, so that's
right.
pretty fun.
Yeah, so look out for that episode. It's on what movie?
Look
Matt?
out for all the
Space Jam. Space Jam.
Yeah.
That's a classic. It's a classic.
Heck yeah.
And they've got a really interesting premise in that they compare every movie they watch to whether or not it's better than the movie The Pacifier with Vin Diesel.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Check out their show, guys. But yeah, anyway, thank you so much, and goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Take it easy, y'all. Take it easy.